Hello, my name is Amin Nazari. Today, I present my project with the title of Comparative Evaluation of Data-Driven Monitoring and Fault Detection and Diagnosis Method in the Tennessee Eastman process. In this project, we're going to look at three feature reduction method. The first one is PCA, Principal Component Analysis. The second one is FDA, Feature Discriminant Analysis. And the third one is autoencoder and decoder. Before diving into a specific algorithm, let's talk about why we need process monitoring. In a modern chemical plant, we collect hundreds of measurements such as temperature, pressure, flows, composition, and control signals every second. Just we can imagine in a 1 second how many data we can have. The process monitoring sits on the top of our control systems. Its inputs are the raw data streams from the sensor and actuators across the plant by applying a dimensionality reduction steps using methods like PCA, FDA, or autoencoders. We can compress these hundreds of variables into a new statistical indicators. If someone asks why the process monitoring is important, we need to say that it has some benefits which are early warning. We detect anomalies before physical alarms or shutdown logic kicks in. Less hardware dependence. We reduce the need for expensive redundant sensor or trip system. Safety and quality. Faster fault detection means fewer of specific products, less downtime, and safer operation. So let's look at what is the Tennessee Eastman. The Tennessee Eastman benchmark is a widely used chemical process simulation for evaluating fault detection and diagnosis method. As you can see, the plant layout, it consists of reactor, condenser, vapor liquid separator, compressor, stripper, and downstream analysis and product streams, all regulated by a network of control valves and recycle loops. For the measurements, we monitor a total 52 process variables and 41 sensor capturing such as temperature, pressure, flow rates, and compositions. And also we have 11 manipulated uh, variables, or we can call them inputs, which are the product of human intervention or control system intervention. For faults, we have 21 fault scenarios ranging from step change in feed composition to sensor bias and actuator malfunctions, covering both slow drifts and abrupt disturbances. And we also have 22 training datasets. The training datasets are related to producing or training a model for each feature reduction method, and also we have 22 testing datasets for examining that our trained model is working good or not. We can ask a question: why Tennessee Eastman process? The Tennessee Eastman process is the most popular testbed in fault detection and diagnosis, and over 37% of published studies are related to Tennessee Eastman. And secondly, it offers a realistic nonlinear simulation with recycle loops and key times delays, which capture the complexity and actual chemical plant dynamics. And also it has 21 distinct fault scenarios that they are related to sensor biases, actuator failures, and unknown disturbances that no one knows about them, but we need to find them based on the method that we're going to implement. But after implementation, our method, we need to pre-process our raw data. From the pre-process, we need to standardize every variable. For doing that, we need to bring them in the mean of 0 and standard deviation of 1. So what is the purpose behind this? For example, imagine we have lots of variable, we have flows, temperature, pressure, and as you know, the range of the flows can change from 1 to 4,000 in the TAP dataset, but the pressure maximum can increase to 10. It means that it can increase from 0 to 10. So because of that, we cannot make a comparison between them because one of them is very less and the other is very big, and if we do something for them, it will cause bias and it's not gonna give us a good approach. So as you can see in the plot at the left side, which is related to the raw data, as you can see in the raw data, the data is not visible, but if we apply the normalization, as you can see, the box plot are appeared, and we can see that each variable is centered to 0 with the standard deviation of 1. But still we have some dots and points which is outside the box and range. These are the unnormal situation in our process. So we will keep them and we will train our model based on them. So what is the feature reduction? If I describe them generally, it means that we cannot take the decisions based on the raw data that we receive. Why? Because there are a bunch of data. We don't know which one is important. We don't know the relation between these data. So without feature reduction, we cannot process them, we cannot judge them, we cannot understand about the mood of our process. So we are going to implement these feature reduction method to understand what is exactly happening in our process. For example, the first method is PCA. The PCA is an unsupervised linear method which tries to capture the variables which have the most variance in the data sets and put them together, and then after calculating the explained variance, it calculates the cumulative variance, and after satisfaction of 90%, we can say we done the PCA. It means that we count the number of the cumulative variance, and based on them we say yes, if we capture for example 90% of the whole variance, it would be enough for me. So for example in our data sets, we are going to choose 10% or 90% or 80%. It depends on us. And also the FDA is similar to PCA. It again works based on the linear relation of the variables, but the autoencoder and decoder is completely different, because we compress the data into the bottleneck step by step, not only suddenly, because we first compress them for example from 52 to 32, and then we compress them to for example 16, and then to a bottleneck. The bottleneck is where we capture the non-linearity of the system. So as you can see in the PCA, based on the plot on the left hand, we choose the number of the PCA. In our project, we choose 90%. As you can see in the plot at the right side, these are about the variables before and after PCA, and the below is related to the threshold of the PCA based on the metrics we have on PCA, which is T-square hoteling and Q statistic. Any exceeds from these thresholds means a false or abnormal event is happened in the system. In the FDA, as you can see, before projecting the data into the axis of the FDA, they are not in a tidy form. You can find each color in every part of the space, but after implementation of the FDA method, you can see the clustering phenomena. I mean, the measurements which are similar to each other, which are related to each other, are tried to gather in the same way. And also for the threshold, we again calculate based on T-square hoteling. How to calculate it and what is the confidence level are mentioned in the project. And also we use fault diagnosis for by FDA. And how do we calculate it? It is too simple, or I'm going to say it in a simple way. For example, imagine we have a normal situation. It's fault-free data sets, and then we are going to project them into the FDA, and based on the distance, which is Oselian distance, we can measure it from the center of the each test data set, and based on this distance we can understand which fault happened in our system. And the third method is encoder and decoder. We start with 52 inputs, all the variables measured and manipulated. We pass through a 32 unit hidden layer, then compress down to a 3-dimensional bottleneck. The encoder up sample back through 16 units to reconstruct the original 52 outputs. that three nodes bottleneck capture the essential nonlinear manifold of normal operation analogs to how PCA uses linear components. Also, we for the training the autoencoder, we train only on the fault-free dataset. I mean D00, minimizing mean squared error MSE between input and reconstruction. The training curve, I mean the blue one, steadily decreases, and the validation curve, the orange one, follows closely, indicating good generalization without overfitting, which is good for fault detection. And also after training, we compute each test sample's reconstruction error. We set the threshold at the 95th percentile of the fault-free errors. Whenever the test sample error exceeds this threshold, we raise the flag up to inform that a fault is happening in the system. Also, for fault diagnosis, we inspect the variable-wise reconstruction errors. The features with the largest error points us to likely false locations. In summary, the autoencoder offers a flexible nonlinear reduction to three features: robust detection via reconstruction error, and straightforward diagnosis by ranking per variable error. And also in this plot, you can see the performance of each method for fault detection. All of the faults are injected to the dataset at 160th measurement. As you can see, the performance of autoencoder is better than the other. For example, in the PCA, the first fault is detected as 180. For the FDA, the first fault is detected at 170. But in autoencoder, the first fault is detected as 161. It means that we don't have any loss in fault detection by autoencoder method. Also, for the fault detection rate, we can define three metrics: detection rate, detection delay, and false alarm rate. As you can see, the overall situation of each method fault detection is mentioned in the red mentioned area. As you can see, the A is better than the other because of its availability for capturing the nonlinear situation over the system. And this plot also shows the fault diagnosis between two methods, FDA and autoencoder. The overall situation is the best for autoencoder. And the last slide is showing the performance of the autoencoder. As you can see, in both fault detection and the diagnosis, the autoencoder is better than other method. And for use of the fault detection and diagnosis, the best choice is autoencoder because it detects the faults as soon as possible they enter in the system, and also it can define the kinds of the fault as soon as possible. And this is the last of my presentation. For the future work, we can implement the different kinds of the autoencoder for increasing the data detection and diagnosis. Also, we can put some classifier on the head of the autoencoder for improving its efficiency. If you have any question, you can reach me via email or phone number, which I've shared in my project. Thank you.